Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Leominster Conservation Commission meeting. It's 6 p.m. on this Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. My name is Nick Krempf, and I'm the conservation agent for the city of Leominster. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone here to just please silence your devices if you have any. And with that, I'll kick off the meeting with a roll call of the commissioners. Josh Bowdridge, Steph Winland,
Present.
Ken Ridlin,
Present.
and Richard Gullick.
Present. And we should all say verbally present, right?
Present. So Josh is present, yes. Okay, so
Doesn't get in camera.
perfect. So absent the meeting today is Mike Seeke and our chairman, Chuck Raymond. And with that, I'll turn over the meeting to our vice chair, Richard Gullick.
Hello. I'll show myself for the camera at least for a second. Dr. Rich Gullick, I'm the vice chair of the last meeting. And the meeting is called, the public meeting is called to order. And we will start with our first public hearing. It's new hearings pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. The Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a request for determination of applicability regarding the purging and replacement of sewer manholes and associated site work. Address 25 DeCicco Drive? DeCicco, that was my second guess. DeCicco Drive, map and parcel 397-1. Someone here to represent the
Yes.
city, can you state your name and who you're with?
Yeah, I'm Jake Fleming. I'm business manager with the DPW.
All right, you want to?
I'm ready to go from up here.
Yes, please.
All right, so we have existing sewer line in green here. DeCicco Drive, where Fallbrook and Samoset schools are. Fallbrook School, Samoset School. You have Fallbrook that runs parallel. The sewer line, we've over the past couple of years done some flow studies, I&I analysis, and manhole inspections. And the manholes on this section right here are deemed, failing or starting to fail or need repair due to elevations. We can kind of go down the line here. The first two are in, they're in decent shape enough to repair, which is what they call purging. Basically what they do is they go into the manhole, clean it, any, grease filled up, any roots, clean it, cement it, basically make a new inside of the manhole, seals it up from outside groundwater, and they're looking to be installing a riser. The first one here is below grade, about 16 inches. So when it rains, it just puddles on top and the water gets into the sewer, which is what we're trying to avoid. Same thing with the next one down, 12 inches below grade. They're gonna just repair that one as well, clean some roots. When we get down, the next one was in good enough shape, we don't have to do anything to it. Then the third one on the line here, or fourth one on the line, we're gonna be replacing. That one is in some serious water. I actually walked this line with Nick. It's below grade and it also gets runoff. There's a farm up here and the hill slopes back and all the runoff from that farm comes down and basically sits right on top of that manhole, coming into the seams, coming into the crack, taking in excessive groundwater, which goes to the collection system. Next going down is a newer manhole that was installed when the subdivision was put in, so we don't need to do anything there. And then the last on the stretch before the stream crossing is also going to be dug and replaced, similar to the one up here where it's taking in a lot of groundwater and needs to be dug and replaced. It's going to involve bypassing. The only one section which is one of the bigger reasons why we're before you today, is that it's going to be passing over the brook. So we're going to have to bypass from the manhole at the end of Imperial Drive here, past this manhole, across the brook to the receiver manhole, which is only about 10 feet on the other side of the brook. This is common practice. It's done all the time. I did talk to the contractor that's going to be doing the work. What they use is a sealed pipe. So there's no leaks, there's no cracks. They put those on sawhorses at least 2 feet above the water. So there's never any bypass pumping going into the brook. And again, it's a seamless stretch of pipe where there's no leaks that could happen. And of course, the whole project are going to be environmental wattles, protection of erosion barriers along the whole length of the project.
What's the brook?
What's that?
What is the brook?
Fallbrook.
Oh, that's Fallbrook.
And this is Lake Samoset. on the side here, so we can see kind of, this is the Fallbrook School, and the Samoset School is up over here. We will be bypassing, to replace this manhole that the two schools feed into. We're gonna be bypassing from the manhole at Fallbrook, it's a Samoset line, but it's right in the soccer fields over at Fallbrook, to the manhole in front of the school. And then we'll be able to do one bypass line along the west side of the brook. And so we won't have to cross the brook actually on this bypass, and we'll be able to keep it all on this side of the brook. So it's only just one brook crossing to anything there.
So what impacts do you think there might be to the brook?
There shouldn't be any impact to the brook. It's an established road. Again, we walked it. There's no cutting of trees needed. It's going to be just basically cutting of grass to get in there better access. We might go in there with a brush cutter. We might just have them go in and do the work. It's just grass that's about, shin high. They were going to have to dig and excavate around those, but the road is probably about 15 feet wide, which is there's a much more material on either side, so there shouldn't be any erosion or impact really to the brook. Just within the proximity of it.
So this is all basically replacing or repairing. Are you installing any new ones?
No, just replacing what's there, deemed to be beyond repair, and then repairing the ones that are repairable.
So I guess my question would be, does that fit with under the exemptions of replacing current infrastructure?
Our understanding is typically it is, and we usually request just an RDA just to get a negative determination of that.
Appreciate that.
But we have normally done this work under an exemption for sewer operations and maintenance.
And that's what you're suggesting in this case?
Correct.
Okay.
If it's fine.
What other questions might we have from commissioners? Ken, do you have any others? Josh?
What about the impact to the soccer fields?
There will be none. The only impact we'll have to coordinate with the schools when they're doing the work. There will be a bypass hose that's coming. Is all they're doing is putting a pump into that manhole, and it's going to be a tube coming up, and so there'll be no manhole will be open. It'll be a pipe that's going from here to here. And I think the reason to do that is it won't impact the road, the travel road. So you can do that, and it won't affect the traffic at all. And then we can bypass from this one right here, which is actually where I don't know if you've been up there recently, but they just paved what used to be a dirt parking lot across from the Fallbrook School. About 15 feet behind that is this manhole. It's in the woods, and they'll be able to bypass from that down over here. So there would be no bypass hose actually in the road there. We just coordinate with the schools, notify them that we're going to have a crew out there, and there'll be a bypass hose, and try to keep their operations separate from our operations.
You said the manhole cover will remain open.
During the bypass, the manhole cover will have to be open, correct?
Is there any sort of safety precautions that take place around that manhole cover, being it so close to the school?
We can absolutely do that. Probably put barricades up. We can even probably do a temporary fence that wouldn't allow you to walk through it. Take some precaution for that. I don't have an exact plan for that, but we will be there most likely during school hours. So yeah, we'll make sure that you can't have any access for children in there.
Any questions? Stephanie?
So the runoff that's coming from that farm, I assume that's to the north. So are these upgrades going to change the flow of that runoff? Like,
No.
is there any chance of it being redirected?
So as of right now, the runoff where it's coming down, it's basically running down and it runs over the top of the manhole to get to the brook. And because the manhole is recessed in the ground about 6 inches, what's happening is just rolling over and then it's just sitting on top. And so instead of the water running off into the brook where it should, it's now just sitting on the manhole and not going into our sewer system.
Inflow.
Inflow. And then what we're proposing to do is we're going to install all the new manholes with a riser on them, so that the manhole cover actually sits about 6 inches above grade, and that will prevent any water runoff. It'll basically hit the sides and go around rather than go on top and find its way through.
Cool. One other question with the excavator work. Is there any chance of destroying vegetation that is like native vegetation that's
Over there,
meaningful?
it's a man-made road. So the access road's a man-made road that's over there.
Okay.
That's already been established for that, and we actually go in and do the clearing on there. So the only vegetation there, like I said, is just really grass. There's no wetland vegetation that would be there.
Cool.
And if it is, we have to cut it to maintain it anyway, so it would be not established. It would be what has grown in since we were there last year.
Cool.
Any other question?
No.
So these improvements being coming out of an INI or influent infiltration study, or was it from a
That's
exact order from DEP?
This is just I&I remediation, so we are in early stages. We have a design, but we're working on doing a extension potentially up to the Shoreland Farms area with the sewer extension, still on the stages of it. Part of those is to do, we have to do a 4-to-1 I&I remediation. However, this area has been identified. We've done a whole system-wide I&I study, a full study, starting in 2017, updated in 18, 19, and 20. We do annual flow study, and this area has seemed to get worse since the initial studies. And so that's what kind of prompted us last fall to go out and start inspecting some manholes. And we replaced 6 last year in the same subsection, and we're just trying to continue that effort further upstream in the areas of need.
Anything you'd like to add for the commissioners before we open this to the public?
I think that's all.
Okay, then we'll move on to the next part of the public hearing. And ask if there's any comments from any of the public. The one person here says no. Second chance. Okay, there's no comments from the public.
I think
So
third and final chance.
that's typically online, that where it came from.
Oh, okay, I thought
So we
that.
didn't need to do it here, but I figured I'd give at least 2. Third chance, there is nobody here.
All right. That was my
Yeah, that's
following
right.
convention, but yeah.
That's where it came from. So he stopped and then it came back again.
All right.
So, do
I'll
you
let
have a
you check.
recommendation for us?
So yeah, based off of my site visit with Jake and the hearing today, I would recommend that the commission votes for a negative determination, specifically number 2, that this is in the buffer zone, but it will not affect the resource area.
And is partly because it's a replacement?
And
Part
partly, yeah, because it would typically fall under the utility exemptions.
Yeah. Okay, then I'll ask, would any commissioners like to make a motion in that regard? To declare there is no, as Agent Nick said. Any
I-
motions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, then make a motion to,
I'll make
Okay.
that motion.
I will make that motion.
Very good,
Thank you.
Commissioner Corbin, thank you.
Very good.
Do we have a second? Second.
All right.
Seconded by Kim, thank you.
Josh, what's your vote?
Yeah.
And Richard Gullick?
Aye.
And with a 4-0, we find that it is a negative determination under number 2.
Good luck with the work. Thank you for coming by and letting us know. Appreciate that. Public hearing is now closed.
You can take, you can take it. Thanks, Jake.
Yeah, thank you.
So as Jake cleans up, we'll move on to the second public hearing for the evening. Pursuant to MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of resource area delineation. Lot 2, Pioneer Park Drive, map of parcels 369-1-3, 369-1-4, and 463-11. The DEP file number has not yet been assigned. And somebody here to speak, please identify who you are and who you're representing.
Yes, good evening, folks. Matt Morrow, representing the applicant. I brought up some minis you guys can look at.
Can you please share one with our camera?
Yeah, just hold it to the
With
camera.
Robert, you can hold it up for the camera from Leominster TV.
Kind of like a cue card. Only really itty bitty ink. So essentially what we have is this is a notice of resource area delineation to certify the boundaries of 2 bordering vegetated wetlands that I found on the property. The property is comprised of several lots. I found basically a bordering vegetated wetland off the Cheeto Drive cul-de-sac, which is the side cul-de-sac going off of the main road, off of Pioneer Drive. There was, it goes up behind, and I forget the name of the company, it's a chemical company up in the back. And that actually comes out behind the lot labeled Lot 12A. Block 1, Lot 12A, on Pioneer Drive. Comes out kind of behind there and basically dissipates into the side of the hill. This one area here on the bottom, right off Pioneer Drive, is right next to the marijuana dispensary shop that they're building that this commission previously issued a negative determination on to that applicant. I actually had done the wetland delineation work across the street for that particular client with Goldsmith Preston Ringwald, who was the engineer at the time. And while we were out there, the prior agent, Angela Schofield, and I had noted that it looked like that property might be a wet meadow, hence the reason why for the determination on that property. I wasn't able to delineate it at the time because Mr. Lascotti hadn't given me authorization to go on the property, and I did, and it's part of this ANRAD. So what I found is you've got the marijuana dispensary being built, and then you've got the lot right next door, which looks like a meadow, and it is definitely mostly wet meadow. You have the area in the front, which has kind of a hump, a hilly side, and it has a lot of like upland shrubs. But it looks like that area was created from a small wetland system that was at the rear of the lot at the bottom of the hill that was actually isolated until somebody went in and did some excavation work, opened it up, and hydraulically connected everything. So I know when we were out there on the site visit with your agent and, you know, some of the membership here, I believe you were there too. Weren't you? Were you there that day?
I think you might not have been. I think it was Ken, me, Mike, and Chuck were there.
Okay, Chuck, sorry. It was pretty wet when we went out there. Thankfully, the rains are coming back. And that's basically it. You have a very good chunk of that lot on the bottom. That whole meadow system is definitely a wet meadow. It was absolutely clear cut in my opinion. So, that's it.
So there's one, if I may then, one spot down in the bottom of the map, one spot up at the top at the other end of the property.
Correct.
And then in the middle, there was a section that was wondered about at some point.
It was more, now that I'm seeing the map, it's more in the southwestern to central portion of the map. It was that area that we had investigated as a group when Ken and Chuck and Mike and I were out there. And we all determined that it was, you know, it was sort of an
We're
edge
right about
case.
here.
And, yeah, sort of an
Can you
edge.
show us again there?
We're gonna right about here.
Yeah,
You want to turn around and show that also to the.
you can just hold it up and he can zoom in, yeah.
Because we do need to address the
Let me know when you're,
TV audience.
you zoomed in? Okay. So essentially, we found an area that was suspicious right up here
Yes.
that I deemed not to have any type of hydric soil. It was basically a perched area. The vegetation, there was some indicator species, but it was very incongruent. So you have some herbaceous layer vegetation, then you wind up having shrubs that absolutely made no sense as wetland, and it would be followed by poplar, which, I mean, it's basically what I call faculty of upland. It grows more on the upland side. You'd be expecting where I would have expected to find high bush blueberry, you found Russian olive instead. It just didn't make it, it's like six of one, half dozen of the other, as the saying goes. There just wasn't enough there for it.
And
So-
yeah, and we had, as a group, had kind of come to that determination, and Matt had been, you know, so good as to invite us up and, you know, point this out, so there wasn't any confusion or anything like that. I wouldn't have even probably known of the site if Matt hadn't brought us up there, but it's definitely.
Yeah, I want to make sure everybody saw.
Yeah. So,
Saw it in advance.
Yes.
Thus-
Absolutely.
Thus this request and to approve this delineation.
That's correct.
Okay.
but definitely no hydric soils, as he said, and a, you know, mix of vegetation that would suggest that it's not like a true wetlands area up there.
Plus, we had a nice visit from a bear.
Yes, we did see a black stripe that day.
How about that? Okay. Commissioner Stephanie, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Josh? Ken? Okay, that's it for our commissioner questions. So we're gonna open this up to any public comments, any questions from the public? And seeing no one here, just a no from the person in the hallway, we will move on and ask our conservation agent, Nick Kremp, do you have any recommendations on this?
So, yes, I kind of gone back and forth with the direction that we should go with this tonight, but after speaking with some contacts in DEP and some other conservation agents, I would recommend that we continue this at least until we are able to hear back from DEP. Mainly because it's an ANRAD, so we're certifying that this delineation is good and true, and just if we approve it now, there's, it's a pretty permanent thing. So that's my only recommendation, is that we would continue this until the next hearing, and we should have a DEP file number by that time.
With any comments from them?
Yes, with any comments that they might have on it.
He does make an excellent point, plus you had two other commissioners that were on site that aren't here, so
Yes, yeah.
I have no issue with that at all.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be my recommendation to continue.
Do you want to vote on that or no?
I think we have to vote to continue. Someone has to make a motion.
You have to vote to continue to a date and time certain.
Before I ask for a
Oh,
motion.
sir, okay, good, very good,
Can
thank
you
you.
say that again, please?
You have to, if you're gonna continue a hearing, you have to motion.
Yeah.
Somebody has to make a motion to continue it to a date and time certain.
We will.
So if your next date is the 25th, the motion will be to continue to the 25th at 7 o'clock, depending on hearing times.
Right.
You guys do all yours in block, right, in order.
Yeah.
So you would say 7 o'clock.
When was the DEP number requested? When was this filed?
September 23rd is the official date on there.
Okay, so they're still within their time limits.
I've had scenarios, Mr. Chairman, respectfully, pardon the interruption, but I've had scenarios where I was waiting for DEP numbers and I'd wait for a month, or I'd leave the meeting and then at 9 o'clock you had an agent working late and all of a sudden a number would appear, so you just don't know.
Understood.
So I think
I've
2
seen
weeks
them
is
take
good.
quite a while sometimes, so.
If there's no number in 2 weeks, we can just
Yeah,
continue.
is there any objection to that concept from any of the commissioners? Okay, I'd like to ask for a motion to continue this hearing to the next meeting, which is on
October 25th.
October 25th at 6 p.m. So moved. Commissioner Ridlin has made that motion. Anybody second that?
I'll say.
Josh Woodridge has seconded.
Steph Quinlan
Hi.
and Richard Gullick.
Aye.
So with a 4-0, we voted to continue the hearing until our next meeting. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll have the DEP number.
Yes.
Yeah,
And we can finish.
that'll be nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Take it easy.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda are continued hearings, and there are none. There will be next time, but none tonight. So new business, there is an outdoor classroom proposal. Nick?
Yeah, so Ken Ridlin had approached me just after the last meeting, I think it was, when you first mentioned it, to bring back this concept of an outdoor classroom that some of the local schools have been using, and he showed me around the area. I don't know, I could hand it off to you, Ken, if you want to fill in the commission what your vision is here.
It's down behind Sears, down by the JCPenney, behind the JCPenney area. It's part of the trail system down there. And at one time, there was a cleared area. There's like a big planter down there, and it was dedicated to somebody. I forget who.
Yeah.
I have a picture of that somewhere that I can find. But the schools used to bring the children down and just, use it as an outdoor classroom relative to Newstock Brook. And the commission's looking for a way to get more positive appearances to the public, and I think this would be great. When you involve the school systems and the parents of the school systems in a positive project like this, I think it could be beneficial for everybody. The site has to be reopened, meaning there's some brush that has to be cut. We won't take down any trees, we'll clean up the brush, we'll pull some of the stuff out of the brook. And it's not gonna cost a lot of money, but one of the things that Nick and I talked about is we're working in the brook and back from the brook, so it's obviously subject to 131. So we have to figure out how we're gonna do this. I mean, as a commission, I would think that we have to make an application to DEP, because we certainly can't rule on it. I mean, there's no question that it's applicable. But I don't think that's a big deal, and I've also offered to teach some of the classes, which I've done in the past, so I just think it would be a phenomenal opportunity. if we can get through some of the technical roadblocks.
Yeah, so that's that's the basic idea. Like Ken said, we had gone out there and walked around, and I think it's a very, viable site. I have to talk to, or you said you had spoken.
Yeah, I talked to
with
Dean
him.
already,
Yeah,
and he was very receptive to it.
Right.
So,
so,
I mean, like I said, one of the things we have to determine is, the applicability of the law and how we're gonna deal with that.
right.
I think that's probably gonna be the biggest impediment, unless the EP comes in and says, yeah, whatever.
Which they might, and I think that it's not out of the question.
Right,
Um,
but it's important that whatever we do it correctly.
Definitely.
Because if we don't do it correctly, we're gonna have people coming on, meetings from now until forever, saying, well, you guys went down to Moonstock Brook and cleaned that, cut trees and, buried bodies, and you never went through the process, why should we?
Right.
So I think it's really, really important that whatever we have to do to comply with 131, we do.
So, yeah, so that's where we're at right now. I'm gonna be in touch with the mayor going forward and DEP, and in the meantime, if anyone has any comments
And
or
I have
ideas on
gotten some of
that.
the contact names, I went through some of my notes, and I've gotten contact names that,
From Whitney Field?
yeah,
up there?
well, but the people from Whitney Field, they're not in place anymore since the place has been sold, but Dean has a good relationship. And
Okay,
I asked Dean to make an introduction
okay,
for me, and he said the next time they come up, I guess they're based in Atlanta. So the next time they come up, he'll let me know and make the introduction at that point in time, because they basically own the land.
yeah,
But my understanding somehow is that it's been under the control of the Conservation Commission, when Gagny had Sears Town, or Whitney Field.
and when was that approximately?
We're going back 20, 25 years.
Okay,
Yeah, it goes back a ways. But I don't see where anybody would object to this.
right,
I mean, if anything, once we get it set up, we're gonna have people that are gonna volunteer to get on there and pick up some of the trash and stuff that we saw when we were down there. People, once you get people involved in it, it'll have a life of its own.
Who's your target audience for classes?
All of them.
so elementary through high school, you were saying, yeah.
Plus the public?
Yep.
I mean, not just schools?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, the public, anybody. I mean, it's gonna be open to anybody, but to provide it to the schools gives a good base. And when you go from elementary or whatever grade up to whatever grade, you tailor the instruction based on the age of the students. And it works well,
Yeah.
And if you take 20 kids down there and you get one kid that trips and says, yeah, this is something I wanna do, it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
What kind of classes?
Just to teach them about the animals that they have, the animals, the fauna, the flora, what's in the brook, a little bit on water quality, again, depending on what group you're talking to.
Yeah, you can do ecology, you could have chemistry
Yeah,
classes
the
down
whole
there.
nine yards. I mean, there's
geology.
There's a blue heron that lives down there.
Mm-hmm.
There are lady slippers on the bank, and I'm sure, if you went through the schools and asked all the kids, how many of them have seen a lady slipper in the reel? Probably very few of them have. And I think there's also Indian pipes that grow down there at that site too, a little, not right on the site that I'm talking about, but adjacent to it, so. It would only be a case of walking like 10 minutes to get to that.
Yeah.
And,
Cool.
yeah, I think it would be great.
Yeah,
It would be a phenomenal
great.
exposure for the kids.
Any other thoughts, comments from the commissioners?
One question, there is kind of a, I don't wanna say established pathway, but there's kind of a worn path along the brook,
Yeah.
whole way. Would that include kind of bringing that pathway back a little bit?
Well, the pathway's in pretty good shape, Josh. But this is actually right off of that pathway. It's right off of the pathway, and the area's been, it's got grass, it's grassed, and it's got shrubs, and it has not been maintained over the past, say, 10, 15 years the way it was maintained 25 years ago. And 25 years ago was phenomenal. But it's not gonna take a lot of money to reopen it and maintain it. It just isn't, And there's plenty of parking there. You can bring buses in and park them or whatever,
Yeah.
But yeah, Rich, to answer your question, absolutely. Anybody from the general public wanted to participate in it, yeah, I don't think we ever limited, said, no, it's just for the school kids, you can't come. I mean, I would think it would be open to everyone.
Well, it's great to see our commission working on different avenues of our jurisdiction and not just, again,
So
the
I think-
Protection Act approved.
Yeah.
So
I think
I commend you for doing that, which is a nice segue into the next item on the agenda, another similar effort. Do you want to announce this one?
Sure, yeah, well, just, Ken, did you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, so, definitely with the eye on, more public outreach stuff. We had our first, conservation-led walk, nature walk last week. I'm already forgetting what the date it was, but it was,
It was a week ago Thursday.
2 Thursdays ago, yeah. Just time, Yeah, but that was great. We had about 10 to a dozen people show up. Everyone had a great time, seemed pretty engaged. It was a nice day out at Barrett Park. So I'd be interested in setting the next one tentatively on November 3rd, starting at the same time on 4 p.m. That's a Thursday. So it would be like weekday evening type of walk, about 4 to 5 p.m. And I would be most interested in showing off the Hill Street Conservation Area. Trail stewards have been doing a lot of work up there. They just revamped the whole parking lot. So yeah, there's a lot up there to see. So keep an eye out for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to commend you for I joined on the nature walk a week ago Thursday. It was excellent. You showed us lots about mushrooms. It was a good time.
Got lucky, yeah.
And so that was nice. Speaking of Hill Street, the trail stewards would appreciate it if the town would do the maintenance at the Hill Street parking lot.
Okay.
So that's something to look into.
Okay.
So I was asked to ask. Like they do at other parks and entrances and so on.
It
So
was
some
even-
mowing around.
Yeah,
the
it was
area.
suggested to me that we could even possibly use the trail stewards to do some of the work at the site at Newsong.
And that crossed my mind also, but
Because I talked to
Dick O'Brien.
O'Brien, thank you.
Sure.
I talked to Dick O'Brien about that several months ago. So,
Should ask them about
He's
that.
always ambitious.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so I'm sorry, you said who to do the maintenance there at the Hill Street?
DPW, the Department of Public Works.
Oh, okay, all right.
He's cutting grass
That's
on
one of
other
the-
similar spots. So would they
Oh,
do
okay.
that or not, or is it just gonna grow up and
No, that
become a
is,
field around the parking lot?
yeah, that is something we'll get to it later, but I was with Dick today, and that was one of the things he mentioned, that they'll be wrapping that up soon, and it's either gonna be us or DPW or rec department
Okay,
doing
great.
that, but I'll be in touch with them.
Okay, anything else on that one?
No.
Move on to the next item on the agenda is the proposed trail connector, speaking of the Leominster Trail Stewards. Proposed trail connector from Elm Street kiosk to the Parmenter Road lot. Is there somebody here to speak on that?
Can I ask a question on the previous one?
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah, we should, yeah, if public,
You said you'd talk about something else there later.
About which the hike?
I don't know. Before you ended the last one, you said
You were talking
something
about,
about you talked to Dick or something, and you talked about that later.
well, I have to talk to DPW or the rec department
Oh, so
about.
there's nothing on this that we, so you guys are done with the Hill Street one?
Yes, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Oh, you're good, yeah.
Okay, so the proposed trail connector.
So yes, that's, I went out today with Dick O'Brien from the Trail Stewards and Jake Fleming from DPW, who's just here, and Jeff, I can't remember his last name, from NEMBA, the New England Mountain Bike Association.
Ardinger.
Ardinger, Jeff, oh yeah, very good. So we were all out there, we hiked an area that I guess Angela had hiked with them sometime last year. It was a close route, but slightly different from today. She had some concerns about crossing through some wetland areas and the effects that a new trail would have on that. Today, like I said, it was slightly different. It was more upland. It did involve one intermittent stream crossing that was completely dry right now, but was obviously, subject to some flowage in winter times. And yeah, so and that was with the eye of improving it for a hiking / mountain biking trail, obviously with Jeff being there. So yeah, it looked like a very doable project, but because of the proximity to wetlands, like I mentioned, they'll have to, the trail stewards will have to submit an NOI to us before doing any of that or installing any stream crossings or anything like that. But
So you're giving us a heads up. That this
yeah, just letting you know.
someday,
Yeah,
basically.
it just happened today. I was just out there today, just keeping you guys abreast of everything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this. I love mountain biking.
Yeah, and it's gonna
And
offer some more connectivity to all the trails up there.
I would have liked to have gone with you today. Next time, give me a call,
I'll let-
and if I can make it,
And I'd like to see, we'll see a map at some point where exactly that route is.
Sure, yeah. Like I said, Jake, who was just here, he was on the walk with us, and he had took a GPS of the trail.
That's who was,
Yes,
the person
Jake.
who asked the question.
No, from DPW, who was
Oh,
presenting.
yeah, Jake from Rhode Island.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, we'll be getting a map on that and all the necessary information on the NOI posting whenever they get that in.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
That was it. One other thing on new business not listed here, we brought up last time as to which commissioners are going to the conference this weekend.
Yes. Yeah.
Not coming up this weekend, but on the 15th in
Yes.
Devon's, the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions.
that's this weekend.
That's this weekend.
Oh.
Coming up this week, this coming Saturday,
The 15th, yes.
4 days.
Yes.
I did register, I am able to go, so I did register. Is anyone else registered or plan to register?
Registered.
Registered?
I am unable to attend.
Unable to attend. We've got a lot of us going, so don't worry about it.
register online, or?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll let you know I can help you with that. And then Chuck also, he's not here, but he is registered as well, so he'll be.
And so did Commissioner Seaton, also registered.
Did he? Oh.
Yeah, he was the first to register, I believe. Okay, that's great, so we got a good crew coming. Next on the agenda is that there's an open seat on a commission now.
Yes, so we had lost, Jeffrey Goyne had to resign just after we had started the process of bringing Stephanie and Josh on. So that leaves us again with 6 of the 7 seats filled. Yeah, so the mayor knows about it, other departments know about it. I've told them to, let people know, put it out there. But just same to everyone, anyone that might be watching, everyone here, just let friends know. Keep that in mind if anyone that you know that might be interested.
There's a lot of new blood on this commission. None of the 4 of us sitting here tonight were on this commission a year ago today.
Including me? Yeah.
Right, none of the 5 of us.
Yeah.
So it is a new group, and I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Josh to your first meeting. So congratulations and thank you for joining us. Is it Bowdridge? Bowdridge. Let's get that right. Josh Bowdridge. And welcome Stephanie Quinlan back to her second meeting now. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining, both of you.
On this side, second meeting.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
On this side of
But
the
you've been here a while.
Good point. We're going to move along. There are no certificates of compliance to discuss tonight.
Nope.
There are no extension permits to discuss tonight. Next, under communications, we have a request for modification to an existing order of conditions, which is for DEP file number 199-1132 and 199-
That's a typo, that should just
11.
133.
what is it?
1133.
1133, that makes sense. Okay, no 9 in that one.
Mhm.
Is there anyone here to speak on that? Would you please state who you are and who you represent?
Wesley Cowett, represent CAW Landscape, and 74 and 62 Sheldon Hill Drive.
7462?
Yeah,
Sheldon, would say that again?
Sheldon Hill Drive.
Sheldon Hill, right, okay.
Mhm.
I remember looking at that online. Okay, please stand up and
Yeah, so,
Yeah, here, I can help you.
get us up here and address the audience.
so what we are looking to do is the proposed wall is here marked in green. And the termination point is now looking to change to the purple line here. The whole wall is shifting closer to the properties. So all I was looking for was the okay to change the location of the wall.
And the purpose of the wall, of its retaining wall?
It's to stop all the erosion of the backyard. Backyard is a pretty extreme slope.
So it's gonna shorten up the backyard in effect?
It's gonna extend it. This is at the foot of, where we're proposing the wall is at the foot of the slope.
Okay.
So now the slope will no longer exist, it will be a vertical wall to add into the backyard.
It drops from the yard just outside of the back door to the bottom of that hill, drops like 10 feet, something like that. Yeah.
Are you gonna put fill in there, or
Yeah,
how much fill?
roughly 600 yards.
So, yeah, just to be clear, if I could just jump in, this is, a request for a modification. We had approved this order sometime last year, and the wall was going to be built into existing wetlands. That's just off the foot of that hill that I was talking about. And now with the new wall, that's not going to require any filling of wetland or anything like that. Yeah.
No,
Like
all
you
the
said-
work's being performed on the back side of the wall.
Mhm.
Where it was proposed earlier, it was tree cutting all sorts.
So why did you decide to move the wall?
Well, I did not decide to move the wall. When Hagan Engineering proposed this, they put the wall in the wrong spot.
Okay.
Nice.
They put in the diagram, they put it in the right
Yes.
spot.
Yeah.
You haven't installed it yet, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Pay the engineers for it?
Other questions from commissioners? Ken?
No, that's,
I have a question.
So again,
Improvement.
Hmm?
Said, this looks better.
yes, yeah, so then, just to be clear, like, you're looking to make this modification in part so that you don't have to
Replicate the wetland.
Yeah,
and
install the replicated,
these two areas here, we're nowhere near those anymore.
because there will be no filling of wetland that was initially planned or permitted for.
Any other questions? So this is not a new hearing, but I would entertain audience questions if there were an audience, but there is no one here. So, do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, so I would recommend, given the reduced impacts of the new location of the wall, that we accept the modification of the plans
Okay.
and into the order. the
Would
existing
anyone
orders.
care to make a motion to that effect?
so moved.
All right.
Okay. Commissioner Kent has made that motion. Anybody like to second that, please?
Second.
Stephanie has seconded it.
Josh Bowdridge
Aye.
and Richard Gullick.
Aye.
All right, and with that, we accept the modification 4-0.
Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you much. I'll be in touch
All right.
once we have the details.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next thing on the agenda under communications is we were contacted by a homeowner's attorney about 9 Penny Lane wetland replication. Obviously, that's for you to tell us
All
about.
right, so this is still kind of unclear to me what the situation is. I know this commission, not this commission, because no one was here a year ago, but the Leominster Conservation Commission accepted an order for the construction of a house here several years ago. There was some ensuing enforcement orders that were issued because there's a nearby wetland that, things weren't built exactly to the order. Since then, a new homeowner has come into possession of the house at 9 Penny Lane, and they're looking to close out the order. But there's some situation where there's a nearby parcel is being developed, 9 Mary Avenue, I believe it is, or something on Mary Avenue. The company doing the work on Mary was the one that had initially been permitted to build the house at 9 Penny Lane. So they're the ones that have to, or are supposed to be doing the work, like creating the replication areas that the enforcement orders required of them. And they're apparently working on it, but they've been very uncommunicative. And the first that I heard about anything with this situation was this attorney for the homeowner at 9 Penny Lane reaching out to me and asking me what the situation is, because he's been trying to get in touch with them about completing these replication areas and getting this order closed out, and they just haven't been responding to him. So the situation right now, I've reached out to them. I still haven't heard back. That was a few days ago. I'm gonna try and call them again. But yeah, they need to, I can't remember the name of the company right off the top of my head, but they are.
Maybe you need to send them a certified letter and give them the time
Yeah.
to respond back, tell them, give them a week, see if we haven't heard from them in a week, then we're gonna file it in court.
All right. So I'll try and call them again if I don't hear anything. If I don't think I have I can email someone at the company. I don't know who the exact contact would be on this, but I'll try and call them again, send them an email this week. If I don't hear anything by the end of this week, I'll follow up with that.
Where is Penny Lane?
It's sort of in your neck of the woods. It's like up Route 13, I think it is. It's past Lincoln Ave. It's on the right side of 13, going up towards Fitchburg.
Okay.
Past Lincoln Ave. It's one of those. It's off of one of the little neighborhood streets going off that way.
So you will report back to us next meeting?
Yes.
A little bit on that?
I was hoping to have more information, but like I said, they haven't gotten back to me. I'm still a little confused as to who needs to do what here, but there's a mess of enforcement orders and replication and people doing things they're not supposed to be doing, so.
Or not doing things they're supposed to be doing. Or not doing things they're supposed to be doing.
Yes, exactly. That's more like it,
Okay. Any other thoughts, commissioners? Okay, we'll move on to meeting minutes. We have 2 to approve tonight, assuming any of us have gone through them, which fortunately, at least one of us did. I did.
Okay.
I went through May 10th and had one change requested, which I sent in to Nick, where it said that I had made a motion to approve a notice of intent, providing us with water quality certification. Don't cut the Japanese now, so that'd be a little reworded.
Yeah.
It was referring to don't cut the Japanese knotweed down. Maybe folks wanted to leave it so it didn't spread further,
Yes.
was the point. So we had to make sure we got that correct, that it's the knotweed. Okay, so does anybody have any other comments on either of these minutes? Are folks willing to vote on them, to accept them? I did read through both and had no problem with either. I was at both meetings.
Yeah, I was not at either meeting,
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
If you abstain, we cannot vote on them, because then we don't have a quorum, correct?
It would be a recusal, technically, because she's still here. Abstaining, one of the things I learned, you have to completely remove. You have to like remove yourself and not participate at all. But so she would recuse herself. Yeah, I guess, yeah, we would need a quorum. Yeah, we need a quorum of people.
So I understand that, but if you haven't read the minute, if you haven't been to the meeting, it's hard to approve the minutes. So last year, they were pushing us to vote for them anyways, and we did that some. I regularly objected, because I believe you just did, Stephanie, saying, I didn't know it was there, how would I know they're accurate?
Yeah.
So basically, it's going by the other people's word, right, who were there and who did read it, assuming somebody did. So it'd be voting on faith of my reading of it and Nick's reading of it. But if you're not willing to vote, then we will simply hold that till the next one.
We'll table it.
If you guys were at the meeting and you read through and you approved the minutes, I do trust your judgment. I would,
well, you're sorry, go ahead.
No, that was pretty much it. Like, my voting to approve the minutes, like, what am I even approving if I wasn't there?
I had the same question
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
So I'm not arguing against you at all. I
So-
understand it, we just did them because eventually we by law have to have minutes and we have to vote on them, we
Right.
have to
Right.
approve them. And if we have some from a year ago, we won't even have a quorum. We
Yeah.
only have one person who is here, that was physically from a
It
year.
feels
We're
like
getting,
the
we're getting
quorum
further and further
should be
behind.
related to who was present.
It does not though.
No.
It relates to the full number of members of our 6. So we need to have 4 present. So I would recommend we go ahead if that's okay and just approve them and move along.
Yeah.
I'd also like
Yeah.
to see us get these back quicker. we're falling further behind.
Yeah, these
And
are the
Nick
only,
and I
yeah,
spoke about that. They're the only 2 we received.
since I've
So
come,
they,
yeah.
since he's come on board, we've had a lot more than 2 meetings.
Yeah.
So I've suggested he find a different avenue of getting them done than the current contracting situation.
Mhm.
So with that in mind, is anyone willing to make a motion to approve the May 10th meeting?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Ken. Is anybody willing to second that?
I will second.
Thank you, Steph.
Josh
Aye.
and Rich.
Aye.
All right. May 10th meetings are accepted 4-0.
And that's from May 10th, 2022, for
Yes.
the record.
Good.
So next, the minutes from June 14th, 2022. I also read those. I had no changes. I've given Nick some comments regarding formatting, basically, and how they're presented, but nothing that was inaccurate that I could tell. So I will ask for a motion to approve the June 14th, 2022 minutes.
So made.
Ken made that motion. Any second?
Second?
Thank you, Stephanie.
Josh
Aye.
and Rich.
Aye.
All right. The meeting minutes from June 14th, 2022 have been accepted 4-0.
Yay, we got 2 off the list. Thank you, everybody. There are no enforcement actions, which is a great thing. No new ones at least. There was an emergency certification for a collapsing wall at 519 Pleasant Street.
Yes.
Nick?
So I'm just realizing right now I don't have a copy of the emergency certification with me, but I can explain it basically. The owner at 519 Pleasant Street, they have their driveway leading into their garage is on this hill, and then just to the left of the driveway, it slopes down quickly. They have a stone wall basically holding up the driveway that's tied into their foundation. That wall is now collapsing. It's really obvious, like driving down Pleasant Street, if you're coming from out of town towards City Hall on Pleasant Street, you can just see it like completely collapsing out. So the homeowner was in touch with me about that in the last few weeks. They were able to get a contractor secured that was able to start this week. So I went out there and issued the emergency certification just with my signature. Typically with these things, because it's an emergency thing, the agent can do it on their own, but it's just recommended that the commission then ratify it after the fact, and you guys can then go on and sign it, and I'll reissue that one just as a more like official thing that we all approve as a commission. So yeah, the emergency certification was basically for the repair of the wall that's going to consist of the construction of another wall that's about 3 or 4 feet out from the current wall, and then they're gonna build that up and fill it in with geogrid and stone, and then like just fill in the space between the collapsing wall and the newly built wall with geogrid and stone, and then build that up to level of driveway, repave, and then have a small wall just extending up from that, because currently it just drops off and they have children, so, yeah. So that's the entirety of the job.
Any questions from commissioners on that?
What's on the other side of the wall?
So they have a lawn area, and then there's a drainage ditch, which brings it into our jurisdiction because there's a number of cattail and other things growing in there. The previous homeowner there, not that this has anything to do with this, but they had a number of enforcements and issues that we were dealing with at that house. Ken and Rich may or may not remember, I know it was last year sometime that, but it's since a new homeowner has now moved in. And since they moved in, just when the wall has started to collapse and all that. And they're just looking to rebuild the wall. They're interested in doing some other work around the house, but I'm gonna be working with them on filing an RDA in the coming months, yeah.
Okay, great. We appreciate that the citizens came forward
Yeah,
and brought that to your attention.
they've been very upfront and, they definitely,
Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
other thoughts or questions? Moving on to the next item on the agenda, the budget. Anybody have any questions on budget?
Well, I don't know if you guys, would you feel comfortable voting to accept that emergency certification?
Of course.
Okay, yeah. Can we,
Oh, you want to go back to that?
yes, to just
Oh,
to
certainly.
to actually have a vote on it, and then I'll,
Okay, because we did not need to do that. You have the authority to do emergency
I do.
certification.
I do, but it's recommended that we ratify
Okay,
it.
I would like to ask for a motion then to ratify and agree with Nick's issuing of this emergency certification for repair and replacement of a collapsing wall next to the driveway of 519 Pleasant Street.
So made.
Ken makes the motion,
Second.
seconded by Stephanie.
Josh?
Aye.
And Rich?
Aye.
All right. Certification approved?
4-0 approved for that emergency certification. And you'll have paperwork for us to sign another
At the
time.
next meeting, I will have that, yeah.
Okay. There's nothing in the budgets unless anybody any questions. For the next meeting, I'm going to ask the conservation agent to report back to us on some of the sites that we visited in the past, including the chicken coop at 689 Wachusett Drive. And what's the progress at Lock Drive? We went down near the river there, and they're going to put up the Jersey barriers and so on to block the trucks from getting into that wetland buffer zone.
Without going, oh, sorry.
Yeah, and a couple others we talked offline, but go ahead.
Yeah, just without going into it too much, because I know it's not on the agenda, but I am in contact with, or I will be in touch with, the people connected to those two projects, so.
So we can hear about them next week. Trying to keep up on stuff. Not totally lose track. Did any other commissioners have anything they wanted to bring up? There's no audience to ask for any last audience questions. So the next meeting of this Conservation Commission is on October 25th, 2022, in this room at 6 p.m. The filing deadline was last Friday, October 7th at 12 p.m., so that is passed. So at this point, with no further business to conduct, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So made.
That has been moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ken, for the second.
Aye.
All right, and Rich?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. This public meeting is now closed.